everybody's going to stay on the hand, but they get tired of hearing from the superintendent.
All right, good evening, everybody. It is April 23rd. It's a regular meeting of the Olentangy Board of Education. I'll call this meeting to order. Mr. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Mr. Lester.
Here.
Dr. Daberco. Here. Dr. Wallach.
Here.
Ms. Schreiber.
Here.
Mr. Rellinger.
Here.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I don't believe we have any amendments to the agenda. Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jenkins.
Mr. Lester.
Yes.
Dr. Daberco.
Yes.
Dr. Wallach.
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber.
Yes.
Mr. Rellinger.
Yes.
Okay, our last board meeting was really, really long, so I'm going to keep the president's report kind of short tonight as we jump into our agenda. Just a couple things I want to get through. First of all, last Friday I was at work, and I got a text message that I did not expect that I would see, which was that we had a deer in one of our schools. I was not prepared for that. But it was a pretty serious event. It was a deer jumped through a window into a class that was going on. It disrupted things. It was a very scary thing, and it's not really the sort of thing that I'm assuming that we train on. You don't expect that that's going to happen, but it really speaks to the efforts of a lot of people across the team, from Superintendent Meyer all the way down through all the district leadership to the school level to the teachers to the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, that they were able to respond so quickly and effectively to support the needs of our students and our families. It happened to be the school that my daughter goes to, so I can attest to the communication that we got from the principal relatively quickly, and just the level of thoughtfulness and care for a crisis that nobody could really have predicted. To that end, I got an email from a parent last night that I would just like to read briefly, because I think it really speaks to some of these issues really well. So I'll omit the names from it, but dear members of the school board and principal, I'm writing to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude for the exceptional way Mrs. Ellis and the staff at Liberty High School handled the frightening incident on April 17th, 2026, when a deer broke through a classroom window. My teenage daughter was in her third period biology class when a sudden loud crash sent glass flying into the room. Understandably, panic began to set in among the students. However, my daughter shared that Mrs. Ellis remained calm, composed, and focused on ensuring the safety of every student. My daughter told me she was the last one out. She made sure we were all okay. She kept me calm. It could have been much worse. Those words speak volumes about Mrs. Ellis's character and leadership in a moment of crisis. Students in nearby classrooms were also understandably frightened. The sounds of breaking glass, screams, and students running in the hallways created a situation that, for many, mirrored their worst fears of a much more dangerous event. Despite this, the teachers and staff responded with professionalism, urgency, and care, effectively managing what was truly a freak and chaotic accident. I was also very appreciative of the communication during and after the incident. Allowing my daughter to call me while she was scared made a significant difference. Additionally, the thoughtful effort to safely sort through and return her belongings, many of which were covered in blood and glass, did not go unnoticed. I am incredibly thankful and proud of Liberty High School. Mrs. Ellis deserves special recognition not only for her teaching abilities, but for the compassion, composure, and protective care she showed our students in a moment that could have been far worse. Please extend my deepest gratitude to Mrs. Ellis and the entire staff for their outstanding response. So just really incredibly thoughtful response. Mr. Meyer and everybody in this room that worked on this, everybody at Liberty High School, really, we just want to extend our sincere thanks for the thoughtfulness and professionalism in responding to all of that. Second, as we've been doing throughout this year, I've set up board office hours, so I'm going to do that again this Saturday from 10 to 11 at the Liberty Branch Library on Stites Road in Liberty Study Room 4. I'll be available for anybody in the community that wants to come and ask questions, concerns, anything like that. We really welcome anyone to come out and just speak what's on their mind, and we'll have a good discussion. So please come out. We'll be there from 10 to 11. All right, a couple of committee things. The Mental Health Committee met last Wednesday. We talked about the accreditation efforts that I know we'll be talking about more in a future board meeting, but working with some national accreditors, and it's always really nice when accreditors who have toured all over the country and internationally say, I really wish my kids went to school here. That's a really nice feeling. But we also talked about some parent support group ideas that we've talked about in partnering with some local organizations and some other options that we might have to get parents support for questions about mental health or concerns or things like that. So we're continuing to work on that. Looking forward to some of that. As part of our board efforts is we get a seat on the DACC board. Dr. Dabrico is serving on the board, and there's some exciting things happening with DACC. So would you like to speak to some of that?
Thank you for your very endearing report. One of the things as public educators that we have the great privilege of welcoming every kid. The problem in Delaware County is we're growing faster than we can handle for capacity. Delaware Area Career Center is turning away hundreds of kids from different programs. So we've got to build more, and we broke ground, and I've never seen more confetti blown up in the air than at that groundbreaking. It was great, and it's exciting because we can meet the needs of not just now, but in the future. And during the discussion from the team, they talked about the flexibility in the new facilities, that this can go in a lot of different directions to meet the needs of growth. But I'll tell you, we're not done. We're going to have to do more to make sure that we don't turn kids away. Because you imagine, you move to Delaware County, you hear about this great program at the Career Center. It just, we had kids presenting from, I think they called Zoo School last time, but then all of a sudden you find out you can't get in because you don't have the capacity. That's horrible. And public schools don't turn kids away. And so we've got to really accelerate the growth in the building that we're doing there. So great event, and look forward to them getting that done quickly.
Yeah, the DACC is such an amazing resource
gosh,
to stop.
it's the
I mean,
best.
if you've never been in there, go in. It's a really, get clearance first. Don't break in. But
Yes.
but it's a great facility. A lot of amazing stuff happening there. Dr. Wallach, do you have add anything about OSBA?
Yeah, it's been kind of a busy OSBA week. Let's see, so yesterday, region president, so I'm the central region president of OSBA this year. Regional presidents met with CEO Tom Hostler and Mark Bobo. And anyway, we had a really great discussion last night about some very exciting initiatives that are coming forward. I can't really divulge too much at this point in time, but it was a really good conversation that I think it's got me excited about some things that'll be coming out of OSBA in the near future. So put a little pin in that. And then a couple of nights ago, I think it was Tuesday night, Marysville High School, in conjunction with OSBA, hosted like a community conversation. So I was invited to be part of this panel along with a few other school board members. Mary Cleveland, who is the current president of the Ohio School Boards Association, she's from the southwest part of the state. She's really wanting to kind of do a tour of the state and invite community members into schools to have these conversations and to be able to openly and authentically have dialogue and ask questions about property taxes, property tax reform, vouchers, the impact on public education, curriculum, mandates from the state, proposed bills, all of these things. And so it was really nice to have a diverse panel representing very different school districts, being able to answer community questions. I just think any time, right, that we can foster more of that open dialogue with community members and speak to what's going on in public education is it's a really great thing. So a thank you to Marysville for hosting and for OSBA coordinating that event.
Yeah, that's great. And that it just goes to really our approach of trying to get as much information out to the community about these things and have a true dialogue. So that's wonderful. I don't think we've had a facilities committee meeting.
No, it's not meeting in April, so
Okay, good. Any other?
I'm sure there'll be plenty of things to discuss in the future with
Lots of
facilities. Yes.
Okay, good. And so I do just want to highlight, we'll talk about this a little bit later. We do have two Board of Education action items. These are with Mr. Rellinger, who has joined the board. We have to appoint him to committees and the OSBA Board of Trustees because we have an extra seat there. So those will be board action items that will be coming up a little later in the presentation. So with all of that, we will now move to our first official presentation item, which is the Seeds of Change event. So Jen, I'm looking forward to having you present.
We did bring some items. They brought some.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you about Seeds of Change. I know many of you are familiar with Seeds of Change, but I want to take a moment to ground us in our purpose and why this type of work is so important. And then we're going to transition to the most important part of this presentation, which is hearing from two of our educators who have been working on their project throughout this year. So at its core, Seeds of Change is about teacher agency in professional learning, moving from learning that is done at the teachers to learning that is driven by the teachers. And that part's so important. Participants identify a problem of practice in their own classroom, so something that they want to fix, something they want to try, something they want to test, and their learning becomes immediately relevant and applied. They test strategies, they do research, they trial things, they come back at it, they reflect, they collaborate with their colleagues, and ultimately, it's becoming an ongoing embedded process that really drives their work. It's not a one-time event. This shift leads to strong ownership, deeper reflection, and ultimately greater impact on the students. So Seeds of Change is a cohort-based experience where teachers design and implement a classroom-based project focused on a specific goal or a challenge. So again, something that they've been wanting to try in their classroom or a problem that they've identified that they want to work through. And throughout the process, they test new approaches, gather evidence of student learning, and refine their work through collaboration. The experience culminates in a showcase event, which we were able to host tonight, where we had about 25 individuals who were able to share their projects, what they worked on throughout the year. And we really focus in this showcase event about their driving question. What led them to get to this point, and then where are they going to go from here? Because it really doesn't just stop after tonight's showcase event. It's about what comes next with these projects. And when I turn it over to the two individuals here to speak with you, you'll hear more about how they're taking their project and implementing it district-wide. So tonight you're going to hear from two of our participants who have been exploring a program called Brain Ball, and it's within the physical education classroom. Their work has focused not only on implementing the program, but also developing lessons and resources to support other teachers across the district. And this right here is one of the many great examples of how teacher-driven learning can go beyond just one classroom and support our district approach. So I'm going to turn it over.
Hi, I am Kristen Richardson, and I am the PE teacher at Scioto Ridge Elementary.
And Ryan Vogel, and I teach at Tyler Run Elementary School, PE as well. So Brain Ball was something that came to our, I guess I would say our department chairs first, and then they brought it to us in a professional development chance that we had, I think it was maybe a couple years ago, because we did it again this fall, and then that was when we had received the new brain balls to use with each building. So each building has their own set of those that you see there, the yellow and the green brain balls, and then these blue and red go along with the math kind of set up for each school. And then during that orientation as well, there was the smaller balls that we kind of had a chance to see, and we're like, wait a second, we have these giant ones, which are great, but these smaller ones are like even better. So they were able to get 6 sets to kind of go around through the travelers from building to building. That'll make it a little bit easier for future use. So those are the sets, and if you wanted to talk about the sets.
So our goal of taking Seeds of Change, we received these sets of brain balls, the large ones and then some of the smaller ones. And Ryan and I kind of just wanted to take this year with Seeds of Change to kind of dive into the curriculum and just kind of see what best practices might be to be able to use them in the gym and then as well as throughout our school building. So we were able to try some little 10-minute activities with some different classes and a lot of different grade levels. And then we also used some for an entire class. So we're just took the year to figure out maybe some best practices in physical education. So that was our goal with Seeds of Change, and I think we got a lot of good information this year and are able to share a lot with our colleagues as well.
And then, so we can do, with the balls, they have letters and numbers also on them. So there's letters on one side, numbers that go along with, so they're very versatile there, so you can do math as well as literacy things, so some spelling things, come up with words, various things. The example in the video is going to be a first grade example there. Them. And the pointer.
Dustin will get it. He'll get it moving.
Okay, so anyways, and you've probably seen the video. So this is one of my first grade classes. We're just doing scooters, so I wanted to kind of introduce them to Brain Ball. So they're working together, so we're working on teamwork here, and cooperation, and they're just trying to get the letters of all the alphabet, put them in order. So they're working together, switching out, and getting a chance to help each other get down, grab the ball, bring it back, and then figure out where it goes. So where's the A go? Where's the Z go? Where's the middle letters? Yeah, they're all doing the same thing, so it's the whole class. And they're all just kind of bringing the letters down and then trying to figure out where they go. And you notice in the video, some kind of take that leadership role and just be like, okay, this is letter here, this needs to go here, and so they're trying to help each other that way. And others are just
Which one is that?
bring letters.
Is that a Q or is that an L?
That's a sun.
Yeah, so we want to make sure we got the Q in the right place
He's thinking
rather
about
than
where
the
we go.
L.
Where do the letters go?
Put the Q in the right place rather than the L.
I need cap.
Now he has an idea, so he becomes one of the leaders. He's like, thinking about, okay, we got to go through the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, where do they all go? At first it was, what do I do? I don't know. How do these letters in the middle go?
Where does Q come by R?
Wait, go back over here. Try again.
Go. Get on. Get on.
And then the excitement. So just being able to kind of get to the end, and I believe this was one class that actually had all the letters of the alphabet before we ran out of time. Other ones we just ran out of time and didn't get there, but they were super excited once they saw it was A through Z, all the letters. So it was really nice. And in future.
So our future hopes with Brain Ball is that we took this year to kind of figure out all the different equipment and the different types of the brain balls and activities we can do. We would like to share them with our staff in our building, with the teachers, with the math coaches and literacy coaches, so we can show them that these resources are available. Please take them in your classrooms, take some kids outside, throw some letters around, work on some sight words, work on some math, and get kids moving more during the school day, because that's good for everyone. So that's our Brain Ball presentation, so thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Dr. Wall.
Well, it's a few things. So first of all, on behalf of Flannery, Sloan, and Catherine, thank you for all that you do at Cedar Ridge. I think that might be a favorite class of theirs. I also, yay, Seeds of Change, because I think the best teachers are those that are committed to ongoing learning, right? Professional learning is where it's at. It keeps things fresh, and again, I think we're the best teachers when we're modeling how we also continue our learning. So big fan of Seeds of Change. I was able to get up there earlier. Mr. Rellinger was up there with me also, so we were kind of walking around the room and seeing a lot of those great displays of what our teachers are doing. So yay, Seeds of Change. And now, for both of you teachers, if either can speak to this at all, can you talk to me about any interdisciplinary co-planning or anything that's informing how these are utilized within the phys ed classroom?
Yeah, so that was one thing with the curriculum that they sent. It didn't have really, I mean, it had a bunch of games, which is great, and that's what we do games. But it didn't have like, okay, so which grade is this going to be appropriate for? What's grade, what activity can we use with fifth graders as opposed to third graders and stuff? So one of the parts that I took was to take their activity book and then give it to literacy and what levels, kind of level it out. So I made kind of a index, I guess you would say, of different activities for different grades. So that way it's going to make it more relevant and easier for us to just grab and say, okay, this is kindergarten appropriate. We're going to do this activity today. And we're teachers looking at doing rhyming words. Well, there's a rhyming one and it looks like it's good for my class, so I can use that one. So make it a little bit quicker and easier to go there. And same thing with math. So I went to the math teacher as well. So
Awesome, thank you.
I'll just add, so I'm new to this, right? So this is the first time I saw the showcase and sort of the whole idea around the Seeds of Change, and I took a lot of notes, but I'll boil them down. Some of the things I saw in the room were just incredible, including this, and it's the notes I took away is the amount of conversation around building agency and independence in students was really impressive. They're not just thinking about, a lesson. They're thinking about how are we creating that learning how to learn mentality, learning how to be uncomfortable in the learning process, which I thought was really cool. The kids came up with a question. They had to go through the process on how to find the answer to that. And you get in this period where nobody knows where to go. I saw, teachers giving up their planning periods and coming in early to find ways to connect with kids, finding a way to reach students in a non-traditional way, and those non-traditional learners, and pulling them out and finding a new way to teach a lesson. And I also heard that they have an administration here that trusts them. They trust them to take chances. They have the freedom to try things. And as a parent, a lot of times I used to ask my kids, "What'd you do in school today?" And the answer is nothing. Then it turned into, did you do anything new today? And that worked for a while, and now it's no. And then the next question is always, what do you have for homework and when's your next test? And sometimes as a parent, it can feel that way, and you forget all the really cool things they're doing that are actually fun that they won't tell you. And I got to see some of that today from some of these lessons. So just kudos to you guys to put the thought and the effort and the time behind that. And the program obviously is doing what it's intended to do, given the example you gave here today. So thank you.
Just to pick up on one of those points, it's, I've been at some events recently where we're talking about students with different learning styles and how they pick up things. And you never know what's going to click. Or like, you guys probably have a much better sense of what's going to click, but from my perspective, there's always going to be something different that's going to be clicking with a different student. And if you can reinforce math to a student that doesn't like sitting in class and learning it, but then that spark hits them in PE, and then that makes them more excited to move on, that's a really cool thing, right? And when we talk to the community about how we go above and beyond, the sorts of things that we're doing to inspire students, it can be something as straightforward as running down and grabbing a ball that will inspire them to love math, right? That's an amazing thing, right? So really kudos for thinking about it creatively and trying to find all of those ways that we can help build learning in students. That's amazing. So really good.
Yeah, well, and vice versa too, not just integrating the math and literacy into PE, but some of that movement into the classroom too, that I know a lot of kids need more than just, their specials period. They need to move around, and being able to go back and forth, I think, is really inspiring. So thank you.
Yeah.
So when you can teach math outside of the math classroom, you've already won the game. Because kids begin to program, and there's even research that says sometimes when you teach kids, they perform better if they only do it where they've learned it. So you don't want to take a kid out of a room that they learned it in because there's so many connections. But this allows connections to be broader. And then somebody said it when they were presenting about motion and movement. So all these things are together. And this is all great from the adult perspective, but I'm going to tell you, from the kid perspective, They don't care anything about what we're talking about. All they know is this is fun. So I'm going to school today because I'm doing this, and this is awesome. So if I'm good at reading and not so good at the scooter, I'm still going because this is cool. So you're tapping into every kid's ability, and this is cool. There's no way I'm going to be late on this day, right? So thank you for making this really cool for our kids, because it's not bad if learning is fun. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Meyer. We need some movement built into the board meetings, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll-
Walk and talk?
Yeah.
Don't give Mr. Dabrico those, Dr. Dabrico,
Hey,
excuse me, Dr. Dabrico
Ryan,
those balls, because I
before you
can
go, Kristen, thank you for
just see that they're gonna.
showing up
Yeah,
and presenting
aim
tonight. We really appreciate it, and thank you for what you do for our kids. So I would echo, again, just, upstairs, walking around and seeing the different presentations from the teachers. And student agency is so important because it allows for student voice. It empowers students, obviously engages, and then through collaboration and the continued learning, and you brought it up right there at the end, fun. When you can tie that into learning, obviously, kids are going to learn a lot better. Also want to echo Mr. Lester's comments in his board president's report on the incident that happened at Liberty High School with the deer. Just so proud of our staff. And again, we don't train for that exact type of incident. However, we do a lot of things. So when things happen, the amount of people in the district and the different departments who come together and collaborate and then obviously act. And in this case, making sure that the students and staff are cared for, obviously, and then how we work through that situation. So, so proud of the staff, and so many people were involved from the school level, but also from the district level, from the county level. Just always proud of how we work together. So, a few highlights here. So again, end of the year is one of my favorite times because we get to honor and recognize so many wonderful things that happen. So here's congratulations to Orange High School computer programming team. So for the first time ever, earned first place at the annual Baldwin-Wallace University Computer Programming Contest. So you can see there they competed against 39 other teams. So they took home first place for the first time, but Devin's in that picture somewhere, so he's the president of the group. And again, this is a student-led group. So Devin, and I'm reading what he does. First of all, he's a school valedictorian, so extremely bright, but he's also giving back and creating something in the school. So he has been teaching lessons on computer science at each of their sessions when they have club meetings. So he actually teaches lessons and has participated in a lot of graduate level computer science work at The Ohio State University and worked with Ohio State advisors. So it's paying off, and they did a good job with their competition. So congratulations to the Orange High School computer science team. Also, end of the year, a lot of awards in the theater department across our high schools. So you can see there the Kappa Marquis Award nominations from Berlin High School, Publicity Crew, got the top award there, Backstage Excellence for Disney's Frozen. Olentangy Liberty High School, the Costume Crew won the top recognition there for Backstage Excellence for the Addams Family musical. And then you can see Tori was a semifinalist for Best Actress. And then Olentangy Orange High School, Outstanding Student Orchestra for Mean Girls, so took the top honor there. And then Samuel will be recognized as a semifinalist for Best Actor in a leading role for Mean Girls. So congratulations, and again, if you have the opportunity, or if not, if you have the opportunity in the future, just a lot of talent in our schools. Also, got a couple Bridge Ed highlights here. So as part of the district's Bridge Ed initiative, Intel, Future Skills for Tomorrow workforce program. So they visited Shale Meadows Elementary for the third consecutive year. So I like this as part of their STEAM, they call it. So they're adding the arts and STEM because as far as how important creativity is and the problem solving and working through their different challenges. But I like this, how they define success here. Success equals try, fail, and try again. And I love that because, obviously it's a great life lesson, and you learn a lot from failing the first time and trying again. So wanted to highlight that. And again, part of the initiative with Bridge Ed is to create opportunities for students at an earlier age. So you can see this is all the way down there in the elementary school. Also want to highlight this as part of the Bridge Ed program. And as you all know, 84% of our students go on to post-secondary education, whether it's 2-year or 4-year. However, we have other opportunities for students, and we want to highlight those opportunities. So we've created a partnership, you can see, with Vaughn Industries. So they hire approximately 100 new apprentices per year with over 300 applications. So of the over 300 and within the 100, you can see we have 5 students who have been accepted into the apprenticeship program there at Vaughn Industries, and you can see from Olentangy, Orange, Liberty, and one from Berlin, a couple others from Orange, and you can see the programs. And Vaughn has apprentice programs: electrical, sheet metal worker, pipe fitting, and substation electrician. So that's a 4-year apprenticeship program, which is paid, and then also a 3-year apprenticeship program in high voltage power linemen. So congratulations to those students, as well as you can see there, we also have a partnership with Worthington Steel. So the pre-apprenticeship program, you can see King and Anna participated in that program from Worthington Steel. So we're excited about that, and I know Molly talks a lot about our Bridge Ed program and the opportunities we provide for kids, so wanted to highlight that.
I'm glad you did highlight this because, I think sometimes people look at a district like this and say,
Right.
all we're doing is preaching one path, and that's really not the case if you get into our schools, especially if you look at all the different options, the teacher academy, the different, all the stuff like that. But this is where, like, the DACC programs and some of these other things, not everything is the same for everyone. There are going to be different pathways for people, and they're all valid. They're all, equally valued in society, and what we're really building for is true citizenship, the range of the community. So these things are amazing opportunities to get kids the ability to see them up close early on and build off it. So this is something that I really appreciate about Bridge Ed and the work that's being done there.
Absolutely, and it aligns to our mission to
Yep.
facilitate maximum learning for all students. So, that's important, so that's right, thank you. Superintendent action items this evening, you can see we have quite a few. We have 2 administrative employment recommendations. So George Brown is being recommended as the Berkshire Middle School Assistant Principal, and then Todd Silverthorne, Director of Transportation, who is here, he's over here. So I introduced him to everyone, Ms. Schreiber, before you walked in, so.
Yeah.
She can't see you behind the pole.
Hey,
So
there we go.
This is, so we're excited, and again, a very extensive interview process, and Todd rose to the top, so 14 years of experience in school transportation, currently with the Kettering City Schools, so he's joining us from Kettering City Schools. So we're excited to bring him on and to be a part of the team. It's and we talk about transportation a lot, very complex part of our operation, but extremely important part of the operation. And we're going to bring him on board to start May 11th, which will help him transition with Ms. Carter Evans, who will be retiring July 31st. But, he'll get to see us close up shop, so to speak, as far as the school transportation goes at the end of the school year, and then ramp up, which there's a lot going on in the summer to ramp up for next year as we start school. So those are 2 recommendations, administrative recommendations, and then you can see many retirements up there. So this might top the list. So obviously we want to thank for sure all of these individuals for their years of service, servicing Olentangy students as well as our families. 218 collective years on that list of service to Olentangy schools. So obviously, again, want to thank them for their service and wish them the best as they move on into retirement. Also, we have one student for early graduation I'm recommending. Recommend approval of student overnight and out-of-state trips. Again, there's a long list, and we're trying to do this twice a year, so this is the second time here in April to approve overnight and out-of-state trips. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Olentangy Teacher Association that we've worked through to just a lot of technical changes from in the contract of things that were outdated, really relative to supplementals and some title changes, as well as the addition of 2 supplementals, DECA Advisor and HOSA Advisor that I've talked to all of you about. And then business management facility items, which Mr. Gordon, he's back from North Carolina, so he'll be up here in a few minutes to discuss these items. But we have recommending approval for an easement with Columbia Gas on Deer Haven Elementary site, formerly known as Elementary 18. And then an acceptance, there's a quote there for a little under $100,000 for the resurfacing of the track at Liberty High School. And then a resolution authorizing a contract for scoreboards and video boards at our high schools. And again, that's part of the bond issue that we went out to voters for. So this will be a replacement at our 4 high schools, and then including high school 5, with the exception, I just want to note, and I talked to all of you about it, Berlin High School, because of the tornado, replaced their scoreboard, so they have a new scoreboard, so we'll just be updating that with the video board, as well as Olentangy High School this past fall purchased a new scoreboard, so again, that'll just be an update with the video board. And then upcoming important dates, Senior Awards and Scholarship Night, that's May 4th. So here shortly, last day of school to our elementary early release. Can you believe we're saying the last day of school already? Thursday, May 28th, Teacher Work Day the 29th. And again, a great day, commencement, 2026 commencement, Saturday, May 30th at the Shot. And then another milestone for us, high school 5 groundbreaking ceremony will be Monday, June 1st at 5 p.m. So that's a change. From June 11th, we moved it up because we changed the board meeting date to June 1st. And then the next regular Board of Education meeting, Thursday, May 7th at Orange High School. So that is at Orange High School, and I'll make sure I remind everyone as we approach the 7th.
Good. Any questions?
Good.
All right, thank you, Mr. Meyer. All right, Mr. Jenkins.
Good evening, board members. Oftentimes, you can say something that is 100% true, but without supporting facts and taken out of context, it doesn't tell the whole story. So tonight, what I want to do is explore the statement that I think a lot of people say and think, which is, well, the Ohio lottery and profits from, gambling and casinos fund public schools. And the implication seems to be that that is the primary source and really what takes care of public schools in the state of Ohio. So I wanted to start with putting a pin in that particular argument, only this time I mean like a pin in a balloon to let that air out, that this is from the Legislative Service Commission. And if you take all sources of what I'll just call lottery or gambling type of proceeds, in fiscal year 2024, it covered just a shade under 12% of education funding. I want to say it was around $1.7 billion. Now, $1.7 billion is certainly not chump change, but it is only 11.5% of the total education budget. So how, I guess when it go back in time and understand how all of this came to be. So some terminology is that lottery includes traditional and video lottery terminals at racing casinos. Just passed one last night. I had to make a trip down to Waverly, Ohio, and I went by Scioto Downs as it stands there proudly on Route 23, which you can't get to because you're stuck in traffic. But in FY24, VLTs contributed, you can see about $460 million to lottery profits. And all lottery profits are put into the Lottery Profits Education Fund, which is aptly named. It does. It funds education. Stay tuned. Now, casinos are a little bit different in that this is something that we can directly see. But take a look at the formula. First of all, casinos have 33% of their gross revenue taxed. Well, gross revenue would be essentially their total amount that comes in and then take out any winnings. Then 34% of that is allocated to schools, so about 11.22%, and when you take the 33 of the 34%, of casino profits flow to K-12 public education. And then finally, sports betting rounds that out because we've had sports betting now since about July of 2023. It's taxed at 20%. 98% of that tax revenue is directed to education-related purposes, and these revenues have increased annually since it was legalized in 2023. So how does it all work? Well, lottery profits are combined with the state's general revenue fund, but they're done in such a way that it is first dollar funding. What do we mean by first dollar funding? Well, I'll juxtapose that. Most people assume it's probably last dollar funding. What last dollar funding would mean is the Ohio legislature determines all of the funding they're going to provide to education up front, with first dollars coming from the general fund. Then they supplement and add on top of it lottery funding, and that is exactly the opposite of what happens. Lottery funding goes first, which generally allows the state to then figure out what they might want to do to reduce the otherwise funding that comes from the general fund contributions. So why is that important? I think most people carry this notion that lottery was icing on the cake or whipped cream with a cherry on top, that you got all this commitment from the state of Ohio and then we throw it in as extra, and that's not what happens. Lottery funds are used generally to offset state spending rather than expand it. Now, we have to be careful how we phrase that because it is 100% accurate to say that those lottery funds go to state education. But this is the key to remember, is that it is not going to dollar for dollar increase what the state does year over year. It is a source that they consider, but it's not always completely additive. So again, lottery growth does not guarantee increased dollar for dollar funding for school districts. So if you want to walk through time from fiscal year 1988 to fiscal year 2024, total state K-12 funding has increased by $9.1 billion, and lottery funding contributed about $1 billion of that. So lottery revenues have grown in recent years, about 5.6% since FY 2020, and that's driven in part, we've expanded gambling. I mean, VLTs have been expanded, other gaming options have continued to be added.
Just a quick question. Is
Sure.
that $9.1 billion adjusted for inflation?
I don't believe so. That's a good question, and I probably should have disclosed that. I think that's just gross. Despite the growth, it's still a secondary funding source. State and local funding makes up the majority of education funding. We saw the slide at the beginning when something is about 11.2% of the state's overall contribution. It's even going to be less when you consider the whole portfolio of what funds schools, knowing that a school like Olentangy, for example, is predominantly funded by local property taxes. So state funding does not fully cover the cost of education, and local revenue sources aren't just essential, they're critically vital, especially in the case of a school like Olentangy. So what does it all mean? It's consistent, but it's limited, lottery funding. It's about 1 in every 8 to 9 state education dollars, and has remained relatively stable as a share over time. Again, the increases in lottery funding do not get added on top. In my world, we call that supplanting. It's perfectly acceptable to use it to replace another dollar that you might otherwise have to contribute from the state's coffers. It does not equal increased funding for districts. It just simply doesn't. It functions oftentimes as a replacement or supplanting funding source, and doesn't independently drive increases in school funding. So policy decisions matter more than lottery performance. Our legislative decisions that determine total funding levels, allocating the formulas. We talk a lot as a Board of Education. We've talked a lot in the past about things like base cost and state share. All of that is still vitally critical, far more critical than lottery funding. Use of gaming-related revenues, remains a piece of the puzzle, but it is not the driving force. And then finally, we know that local funding remains crucial. Districts still rely on local taxpayers and will into the foreseeable future. Questions about lottery funding and kind of what we were trying to cover this evening?
I have a question, just to make sure what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong. So if I think public education Ohio should have more funding, I shouldn't go to Scioto Downs and bet my paycheck on a horse, because that doesn't necessarily mean that additional revenue will flood back to public education. A better avenue may be talking to the representatives and the legislator about who create the actual budget that determines the money that goes to the schools.
That is exactly right.
Okay. Thank you.
If you run into them at Scioto Downs, you can have that conversation.
Perfect.
Do you happen to know, we've seen, I feel like I constantly am seeing ads for online DraftKings, that kind of stuff. Does that factor into this?
So it does, and that would be back on this slide. That is the sports betting that started since July 2023. That is why there is such a proliferation of those commercials. There's some more detailed revenue. Obviously, we're trying to present the high points that if you're interested, Ms. Schreiber, I could send to you, that breaks down what, and we're not trying to cast stones, but it's a reality. A lot of the increases that have happened because of sports betting have been gobbled up by the expansion of the Ed Choice voucher.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said it's about $1 billion, which is how much goes to the voucher program.
You did your math well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have that bullet point. I can find it. And all of this, even though this first slide came from the Legislative Service Commission, the rest of this came from On the Money, which is what Gongwer publishes as it writes articles about different things going on around the State House. Certainly, some people may feel that Gongwer has a certain slant, others may not. Regardless, they usually provide pretty solid information. And so, yes, the point that you're making about the increase in sports betting, the vast majority of that has been used to expand the Ed Choice vouchers and voucher programs in general.
Curious about your algorithm.
I have no idea, but I mean, you see the billboards, you see, yeah.
That's
I'm
where it
blaming
went.
on my children, I guess. I don't know. They're the ones who are on the iPad all the time.
That's exactly where it went.
So it's interesting, next month is 53 years since the Ohio Lottery was approved by statewide ballot initiative. One of the biggest opponents of the lottery was an OWU professor who debated Ron Model from Cleveland about this notion that the lottery is going to come and rescue school funding. So remember what's going on in the early 1970s. So this is for Mr. Lester for his trivia night. Lottery first started selling tickets on the exact day that Richard Nixon resigned in 1974. That was when they first started selling tickets. Almost 20-something years later, the research started coming in about the first quarter century of lottery revenues. One of the biggest studies was a Fed member from St. Louis, Dr. Garrett, and he basically said that the empirical findings provide evidence that earmarked net lottery revenues for education in Ohio have not led to an increase in expenditures. So really what we see is just another in a long line of shell games. Sorry for the gambling pun, but just a shell game. People generally think that the lottery benefits education. It really does not. Even worse, if it was neutral, then you can say, well, but the worst part of the lottery is it targets working poor. So there's zip codes like we have in our school district do not really engage in lottery play like the areas that receive much more attention. And it's really a regressive tax on working poor. Now, up here, people don't participate in lottery play except for one game, which we play up here. Can you guess which game we play in our district more than any other game?
Keno?
Yeah, that one.
I'll bet you don't know. Nope. What is the game that people play? They will play higher dollar games. When it gets to be $48 trillion, they will play, and they will typically play what's called syndicate play, which means they're going to go together with people they work with. And the reason they do that is because that money will change their life. But a $100 ticket's not worth stopping at the gas station because there's too long of a line. The point is, I'm glad you bring this up because this is just another example of how the legislature, you're a nicer person, I feel like, than maybe this issue deserves, because when you read the newspapers from a half century ago, they promised this in conjunction with the income tax, that this would solve the problem. And it hasn't. And it's key that people take away from this. The legislature has an opportunity to give tax relief to people across the state by fully funding fair school funding. And Mr. Rafe said it, I don't know, 6 years ago, 7 years ago when it first started, and Mr. Meyer said it, fully funding fair school funding will give us tax relief. And we're gonna say it one more time. How much did we lose when they bailed on fair school funding in our district?
We did a cumulative record that if they would have fully funded it and used the cost sets that technically should be used, it was around $50 million.
So, Mr. Meyer, you either have to decide where you're going to cut $50 million, or you have to decide to tax the people in our school district more. And those are the real decisions. So I'm glad you brought up the lottery, because it allows us to reinforce that the state legislature has hurt public school funding statewide. And
Yeah, and I think this is part of the bigger conversation that we're hearing that maybe Dr. Wallach heard as well last night about property tax relief. There's been a big push, at least from what we've seen on social media, for people who are trying to say, let's abolish all property taxes, right? Because people are tired of levies and things like that. But when you supplant some of our funds with lottery funds, when you cap income tax completely, regardless of the income, the progressive levels and things like that, that's where it ultimately falls down on the property owners. And I've sincerely wanted to try to research maybe what are the alternatives here, and I have failed to hear anything that would actually get us to the level that we actually need to fund our schools. As you've indicated here, even taken on its own, the lottery money is not nearly enough to keep the lights on, let alone actually pay our teachers and those sorts of things. So, I'm all for wanting to give myself as a property owner in the district, some property tax relief, but we have to look at the cost of that to our district. And we had a model that we started going down that track for fair school funding, easing it in, and then it just kind of disappeared in the last couple of years.
Right. And that's,
Well,
go ahead.
The formula is still intact, but the fidelity of what was intended got interrupted by the legislative process. No parameter is bigger than the base cost, and it's currently frozen at 2022 levels. And that, at the same time that the cost inputs are frozen at 2022, the local inputs like local property value and local wealth roll right along at current values. That is dramatically shifting the burden to the local community.
And remind me again, where do we look like we'll land most likely at this point, best information? Next budget's going to be a windfall for us. We won't know what to do with all that money. Where are we going to be on the state? As people, because this is elections season, so it's kind of good to have information. We don't advocate for a candidate, of course, but we can discuss what the budget could have as an impact on options that people have. I mean, we talk about the classes that kids have access to. Where do we look like we may end up on the next budget? Or where are we guaranteed right now to be?
So the only thing I can say is without a couple of the supplements that were added, which we are thankful for, the growth supplement and the performance supplement. Were it not for those, the basic fair school funding formula as currently written, we would be essentially at the minimum threshold of 10% of the base cost from the state of Ohio. It's about $800 per pupil, which would be after inflation, probably lower than the $600 we used to get back in about 2018 or 19.
So is that more or less than what the typical taxpayer would pay in Olentangy in sales taxes and income taxes?
I would have to believe that that would be far less than what someone would pay if the sales tax went to 20%. I couldn't imagine buying a car in Ohio if the sales tax went to 20%.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, people are going to go, they're going to take a 2-hour drive, and it's not illegal to, it might be illegal to go there for a football game, but it's not illegal to buy a car there, so you could go buy a car and save thousands of dollars, so that's not going to work. And, you know, I agree with you. I'm all for, if you somehow got rid of property taxes, I'm all for it, but I tell my children, you do not quit a job before you have your next one lined up just because you're mad at your boss. We're always mad, I guarantee it. So make sure you have your next boss in place before you start playing country music songs out the door, right? The point is, we've got to have a model in place to pay for public education before we say, let's scrap the whole system and let everybody else figure it out.
We've got concepts of a plan.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
it expands beyond that. I know a lot of people think, they think property tax, they think schools. We're usually 60 to 70%. So, but that other 30% is you want someone to show up if your house catches on fire, or you want, hopefully, law enforcement to be there if you have a wreck at the local intersection.
Your window.
A deer jumps through your window. All of that, you know, it's not totally fair to just simply say schools, schools, schools. All of those local services will be impacted deleteriously.
In this entire conversation, and I know we talk about the same things, but people have to hear stuff, especially me, more than once before it sinks in. All of this stuff that the State House does hurts credit ratings for 600-plus school districts, because outside people who are going to buy school debt or any debt are saying, what are these people doing? We don't even know if they're going to be able to pay us back in a year. So I appreciate you bringing up the scam of the month, and I look forward to your future discussions of plans that have failed, because really all it's done is muddy the waters, pretend like lottery stuff is helping public education. It does not. It has not gone up. It's just kept pace, and what they've done is decided, well, now that we got this from the lottery, we can spend this money on much more pressing matters like stadiums.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's, you know, the people in this room have heard this, you know, every 2 weeks for the past 7 years. And hopefully there's people at home looking at this. But it's a really important point. And I think your slide, or your last bullets on the last slide, you know, I would add a couple of words to the last part of, regrettably, local funding remains the critical part of it.
Right.
And we have to continue to rely disproportionately on local taxpayers because of some of these decisions. I think you're right to sort of refer to it as a shiny object, because it distracts from the ultimate issue here, which is state funding and local funding are both important parts. It is important that we have some local control so that districts like Olentangy, communities can say, we're willing to pay to help have these services, but the burden cannot be entirely on the local community, and we're pretty darn close to it being entirely on the local community. That's a problem, and getting rid of property taxes is not going to solve that problem. Adding more things like lottery is not going to solve that problem until we reckon with the actual true root causes of it and sort of take that seriously at the the state level, at the federal level. We're going to continue to have these issues. So this is where I tell people, I've had people ask, what can I do to get involved? How can I do this? Get educated about this, truly understand what some of these things are, that they're just not fine. If we get funding and we supplant, fine, but that doesn't solve the issue. So understand that and actually have conversations with legislators about it. And again, I want to echo the point that Dr. Davenport made. We don't endorse specific candidates as a board. We're not coming out and say, vote for this person, vote for that person. But we do endorse the idea of talking to your legislators and your candidates for the legislature about these issues. Try to get them to understand your perspective on it because it's vital.
That was a huge part of the conversation in Marysville the other night, and the same sentiments were echoed. Again, no one's endorsing who you should or shouldn't vote for, but please do your homework, and it's not just the mailers or the door hangers. If there's an issue that's important to you, if you care about school funding, it's not just when there's a levy on the ballot that we're talking about school funding. It's who you are voting into office and looking into a person's track record of voting and how they've voted on things like vouchers and the budget and stadiums, and that's where you're going to get a good idea of where someone stands and how they really will or will not support us. So
I just want to emphasize, Mr. Lester, you asked, you said what community members ask, what can we do? And talking to legislators is great. Researching candidates is great, but talk to your neighbors. Yeah. Like, I know this isn't a popular conversation when you're sitting around having a beer watching a football game, but if somebody brings up property taxes or, hey, I got asked to sign something to put something on the ballot and things like that, bring it up, it's like, okay, how are we going to fund those things? I get the property tax thing, I pay as well. But how are we going to fund the things that those things pay for? Because I think it opens a conversation to understand at depth how schools are funded, which is a hard concept to understand. So talk to your neighbors, talk to your peers. A lot of us go into the voting booth and do our thing, and we never have a conversation with anybody about it. But these topics are important for a community. Having a fire department is pretty important to me. My house has never been on fire, but I really like to have them down the road just in case. So I think it's a good community conversation as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of minutes between the draft picks tonight, so
exactly.
It's a great opportunity. All right.
Don't tell me you're not going to get a DraftKings ad. Come on.
So I always used to like to show students in my math class the expected value of buying a lottery ticket. So I like to say that buying lottery is a tax on somebody who doesn't like probability and statistics. Treasure action item.
Savings rate.
Pardon?
Basically, it's a negative savings rate. So if you're looking to invest and lose money, do the lottery, because you will.
But remember, you can't win if you don't play. So, the action items this evening, the minutes from March 9th, how about April?
Either way.
Yeah, I'm losing my mind. I was looking at the one below it. Acceptance of the March 2026 monthly financials, and then finally, the 2026 amended permanent appropriation resolution, which just modifies the budget slightly and gets sent on to the county auditor. There were no requests for public participation.
Okay, sounds good. We will then move on. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. We will move to our first discussion item, which is the first reading of the fourth set of board policy updates. So, Dr. Fenn.
Good evening. The Policy Committee met on April 7th to review the policies that are presented tonight as FY26 number 4 policy updates. These will return at the next board meeting, and the board will be asked to adopt them on May 7th. Couple policies to point out for the board and the public. There is a new policy on name, image, and likeness. OHSAA adopted a resolution in November for name, image, and likeness. This sets rules for that if there were students to pursue that opportunity. There are also a number of policies related to spending due to updated guidance from the Ethics Commission that we actually brought in our last policy update. So this is just finishing up some of that work, as well as a couple grading and class rank policies that are ensuring our compliance with Ohio's guaranteed admissions programs. And we have also policy 5112, which House Bill 114 dictated. So that's why we did that one. And then lastly, there is an AI policy, artificial intelligence policy 754009. House Bill 96 requires school districts to adopt an AI policy by July. The Ohio Department of Education and Workforce published a model policy. So what you see is a version is informed by the model policy from ODU, and we're going to have a presentation for you on how we are handling and teaching and responding to artificial intelligence at our next board meeting. Is that presentation?
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions between now and the next meeting, feel free to reach out. And they'll be back next meeting for adoption. And I'm also happy to answer any questions right now if you have any.
Yeah, and we do encourage the community to take a look at these. We said that we have these reading structures so people can give us comments. We get some comments, but it's always impressive to me that we have teacher and staff comments about these too. So I really encourage that we, the people that are actually going to have to live under them and work under them, take a look. So.
Yeah, we do have a staff liaison who is on the policy committee who has that lens as he's looking over these things, but we certainly, as we've said, this is why we publish them and have a time period for comment so that other people can give their thoughts and maybe help us see things from a lens that we didn't think about during the policy committee. How can people get in touch or submit
My
comments?
information is on the website. If anyone wanted to email me, it would be the
Email
easiest
Dr.
way.
Fetty
Email
directly.
Dr. Fetty.
Perfect.
And most importantly, because just thinking about reviewing policy could be a daunting task. And many, I will just say, for me, when it's daunting, I'm not going to do it. So you make it easy because all of the changes are highlighted. So you can read the change, say, well, why are they doing that change? And then send off an email and say, hey, can you explain that? And I'm guessing more times than not, it's coming from the people we pay for policy, which is probably what percent of our policy? 90+% of our policy is
Higher than that.
is the same as every other district
Yeah.
on the planet Earth. So, but they
Yeah,
can
and-
see the proposed changes, so we don't have to hold both drafts together and say, what are
What's
they doing different?
Yeah, and I can expand a little bit on that too, because I think there's been some criticism. Even when I first heard, I thought, like, why do we have all these policies that are kind of fed to us from someone else? And it turns out it's not that they're pushing a certain agenda or anything like that. The vast majority of these are changes in the law, and the nice thing about these proposed changes or the policy updates is that they put the specific law down at the bottom, so you can look it up and see, here's what the law says we have to do, so now we're going to update our policies or implement a new one as a result. There's model policies as well from other organizations, like you said, the name, image, and likeness one comes from the High School Athletics Association, that they recommend, hey, this is language that's going to comply with the law, and it's going to be fair to the student athlete, and, everyone can kind of understand it that way. So a lot of it is coming into compliance with the law as it changes, because it's either changed through legislation, through court cases that change the law, through executive orders sometimes, things like that. But at the same time, sometimes there's options that we as a committee get a chance to look at it and decide. For instance, the cell phone policy, we had to determine what constitutes instruction time. Do we want it to be bell to bell? Do we want to let kids use it during lunchtime? How do we interpret that? The law is a little bit ambiguous, so that's where some of the discussion amongst the policy committee and the comments from the public, our staff, teachers, that's where that really comes into those particular discussions and decisions for policy committee.
Which is great, because that's local control.
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
and I think in several months back, I remember seeing on social media there were some policy changes and someone, kind of threw up a red flag. Hey, why would we be changing this? That doesn't sound good. And it was an opportunity then to educate and be like, well, it's still there. It's here now, not there. Things like that. So I appreciate when people are paying attention and asking questions, and that the district can provide those explanations as to the changes.
And if you want to go down a rabbit hole, look at the policy and then look at the law that's passed, then go to Ohio Revised Code and read through it. And it is interesting in how this all comes together. And House Bill 96 was passed as part of the budget bill, right? So you start to see how things are tied together. Things that maybe were put into House Bill 96 around cybersecurity had really good intentions to put funding with it, but then that got stripped out as part of the budget part. And you can kind of see how these things start to come together. So again, if you're talking to your legislator about public school funding and things that you feel are important for local control in school districts, this is the same conversation because they are really tied closely together.
As many of you know, I have a student policy intern from Olentangy High School working with me, and he's having dental work tonight, so he couldn't be here. So you just summarized his year-long internship right there. So when he watches the video, shout out to Sophic.
Well,
There we go.
and the one other piece of this that, people might say, well, why don't you write your own policies? Why actually go to other people? So as someone who I do write some policies, you spend dozens of hours on one policy. By contracting with a third party who keeps up on all these laws and then has some indemnification requirements if it's not correct, we are saving the district lots of money. Lots and lots and lots of money rather than trying to write all of these and having the legal support in-house. It would be a crazy amount of money. That's why school districts do it. So.
And Mr. Lester, let's be fully transparent. The not-so-hidden agenda with policy many times is this nefarious idea of risk management. We don't want to screw it up, and by following, because you can only know what you know, and by having someone else do it, when you say indemnification, that's the key.
That's helpful. Yep. All right. Thank you, Dr. Fetty.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next
Yes.
meeting.
Policy,
Mr. Gordon. Yeah.
policy. You're on the clock, Mr. Gordon.
That may be the most robust policy discussion we've had in my 20 years at Olentangy.
That's true. That's true.
So, all right. I will quickly go through the few items that
With the
we
first
have.
pick
Are
in the
you
draft.
not entertained?
I was very entertained by that. Actually, I appreciate the dialogue and the board members weighing in. It actually is really good. Too often you see those that don't weigh in or aren't engaged, so we appreciate your engagement. The first item, recommend the approval of the easement with Columbia Gas of Ohio. We see these all the time with different utilities, whether it's AEP, gas company, or Delco Water, so they would like to have the easements to be able to get in and do work on their lines. If we didn't pass these or approve these easements, it'd be very deleterious to our project, so we need to make sure we pass that. Ode to Mr. Jenkins over here.
It's the word of the day. We all scream.
The second one is a quote authorization, and these last two were done through a purchasing consortium, but for our track at Liberty High School. We had a track on a couple weeks ago, and we went with that particular company because they had done work previously with us, and that was partnered with some warranty work that they were required to come in and do. We haven't been overly excited about the product that we've gotten with that company the last couple of times, so we decided to go with this other company. So that's why you saw the track bid split. Usually we'll try to do these together and get a better price, but we really wanted to go another direction, but we needed to get the warranty work done as well. So that's why those two were in two separate approvals, two separate board meetings. The last one on there is, as Mr. Meyer mentioned, it's scoreboards and video boards as part of the bond issue that we passed last fall, was to upgrade stadiums, upgrade theaters, other projects throughout the district, and this is part of that stadium upgrade. We approved LED lighting several board meetings ago. This is the next step in those stadium improvements, and that's to replace scoreboards. The scoreboards at up until last fall at all three high schools other than Berlin were original. So Liberty High School, that means 2020 or 2003, and Olentangy High School was done at the same time. Both stadiums were built together. So getting those. So Olentangy High School could not wait, and we replaced that scoreboard last fall. So we'll have, with this, we're also included to get better pricing as a whole. for the high school 5. So we're going to be purchasing the stadium scoreboard and video board for high school 5 along with this. We may negotiate in some other boards and purchase those as well separately. Normally, we'd do that through the construction project, but since we have bulk pricing here and very good pricing, we went ahead and included high school 5 in that to try to get the best pricing that we could. A note on the video boards, these will be a little bit bigger video boards than we've had, which will allow us to have advertising on it. And we will enter into a contract with a company to sell the advertising, given a portion of the advertising back to the athletic department. The district share would be split between the athletic department and our PI fund. So while we're funding those video boards out of the bond money, the funding coming back in, the revenue, part of the revenue generated from the advertising will go towards replacing other scoreboards in the district and keep helping fund that as that builds up.
This is not a question. This is a comment. It would be curious to see any sort of projections you have on a revenue stream. That's it. Just curious to see what the company that we're hiring, what they anticipate can come out of that to get back to the district.
Yeah. The advantage of, and I have those numbers, not here tonight, but I do have those, we can share. But we haven't signed a contract, so we haven't said there's several companies that do that. We haven't signed a contract with a company for the advertising yet. And by us buying the boards ourselves separately, a lot of times the contracts for the advertising is they'll provide the board to you and then they sell the advertising. So they've got you with the board, they've got the advertising. In this case, we're buying the board, then working with them to do the advertising. And just speaking in general about partnering with somebody to do it, our athletic directors and boosters, they don't necessarily have time to go out and sell the advertising and work it the way. So we leave revenue on the table a lot of times when we're relying on our athletic directors or some of our boosters. Some booster programs are more able, have time to go out more than others, but generally speaking, we're able to get more revenue through partnering with a company that's what they do. So, but this allows us to not be tied to a company that's providing the board. It allows us to really shop and negotiate a little more when we get to that contract point for the advertising. So I have estimates, but it's not the final because we haven't settled on which company.
To see what they anticipate, because those are great audiences every Friday night. 5 home games. Could be close to 10,000 people that spend money.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Barton.
Thank you.
All right. We have 2 board action items. As I mentioned, with Mr. Rellinger joining the board, we're putting him on committees, and we also have an OSBA rep, so we have an additional seat there. So that's what 2 board action items are. We'll take these one by one. So first, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Rellinger to serve on the OSBA Board of Trustees effective April 23rd, 2026, today, to December 31st, 2026. May I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none. Mr. Jenkins?
Dr. Daberco?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Rellinger?
Yes.
And Mr. Lester?
Yes. All right, second, to appoint Mr. Rellinger as a board representative to the Finance and Audit Committee. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
A second? I will second it. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Mr. Jenkins?
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Rellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Daberco?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Jenkins, the treasurer consent action items.
Board members, as usual, tonight's items are being presented as one single slate of agenda items, recommending that they be approved with one single motion and vote, unless someone would like to take an item and pull it out and deliberate and consider it separately. Item A is the minutes from the April 9th meeting. Item B, the March, 2026 monthly financials. Item C, the revised amended permanent appropriation resolution. And then item D would be the vote on all of those as one single slate of items.
Would anyone like to pull any of those out for separate discussion and vote? Hearing no interest in that, I will entertain a motion to approve them as a single slate of consent action items.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Mr. Jenkins?
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Rellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Daberco?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Meyer, the superintendent consent action items.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Board members, I recommend approval of the following superintendent consent action items A through I. A, specific human resource items administrative. B, specific human resource items certified staff. C, specific human resource items classified staff. D, specific human resource items classified substitutes. E, specific human resource items supplementals. F, approve students for early graduation. G, approval of student overnight out-of-state field trips. H, approve a memorandum of understanding with the Olentangy Teachers Association. And I, approve business management and facility items that Mr. Gordon just discussed. I'm asking you to approve these items by one single action and vote unless you'd like to discuss any of these items separately.
Would anyone like to discuss any of these items separately? All right, hearing no one, may I have a motion to approve them as a single slate of consent action items?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, Mr. Jenkins.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
Mr. Rellinger?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
All right, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Give me a second to say it. Jeez. All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, Mr. Jenkins.
Did the Browns
Rellinger?
Did the Browns pick yet?
Brad.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
Dr. Dabrico?
Yes.
Dr. Wallach?
Yes.
Ms. Schreiber?
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank
Thank
you.
Go
you.
Browns.